All right, so this is a short lecture on Cambodian refugees and why Cambodian refugees came to the US. And that is in part because Cambodia was dragged into the war in Vietnam. The US military saw that it was necessary to bomb the Cambodian countryside in order to destroy the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And not only, and the Ho Chi Minh Trail went into Laos as well. So and in Cambodia, there was tension and conflict between Prince Sihanouk and Pol Pot. Sihanouk was supported by the U.S. government, while Pol Pot was, of course, not, and Pol Pot was a communist, right? And the dictator. And so, because U.S. foreign policy at that time was to contain the spread of communism, the U.S. Did go into Southeast Asia, fought Ho Chi Minh and the Viet Cong in Vietnam, the Pather Lao in Laos, and of course, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. Now, when the U.S. left Southeast Asia in April 30th, 1975, they also left a power vacuum. And right after they left, the countries that they were attempting to keep from turning communist all became communist. Vietnam became communist because the Viet Cong and Ho Chi Minh won. Pol Pot won in Cambodia, and the Khmer Rouge came into power, and the Pather Lao for Laos in Laos. And with the Khmer Rouge, though, Pol Pot himself, just like Ho Chi Minh, was inspired by the Civil War in China in 1949, in which Mao Zedong won. And Mao Zedong transformed Chinese society into an agrarian society. And both Pol Pot and Ho Chi Minh saw that as an example of what Cambodia and Vietnam can be. So, but Pol Pot did this, but he also wanted to cleanse Cambodian society. Now, in Cambodia, the Khmer, spelled Khmer, you want to say Khmer, but it's Khmer. The Khmer are the dominant ethnic group in Cambodia. But at the same time, there are a lot of Chinese Cambodians in Cambodia, and I myself, my family is Chinese Cambodian, and on a personal note, most of my or all of my extended kinfolks in Cambodia, my relatives, were killed during this period, and so the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot wanted to reform society. And so when they took over, they declared that the start over year, year zero. That was going to be the new society where the capitalist class was taken out, the elite class was taken out, and anyone that spoke a foreign language, wore glasses, or were not pure ethnic Khmer would be taken out. And literally taken out meaning killed, right? If they weren't killed right away, they were forced into labor camps, and then they died in what is known as the killing fields. And so through this ethnic cleansing campaign, it is estimated that 1.8 to 2 million Cambodians died in a very short period. The Khmer Rouge were in power from April of 1975 to early 1979, when Vietnamese forces went into went into Cambodia. So, so, um, so of course, when the U.S. left, many of the Cambodians that were displaced by war, many of the Chinese Cambodians that were fleeing Cambodia for fear of their life, and then in 1979, when the Khmer Rouge were finally toppled, many of the people that were in the labor camps and in the killing fields were able to flee, and they left. and a lot of them went over to neighboring countries like Thailand. That's why all the refugee camps were that's why a lot of the refugee camps were in Thailand. And then from there, they were able to come to the U.S. or other Western countries like Australia, New Zealand, France, and Canada. But the U.S. Was pressured by the international community to take on the refugees because we were responsible for the war based on the lie of the Tonkin Gulf attack, and so and so and so the U.S. did pass the 1980 and 1981 Refugee Act, allowing for increasing number of refugees to come in from these three displaced countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Now, when the Cambodians came over in the early 1980, there was an economic recession, and that made it hard to fully fund the programs to help Cambodian refugees integrate into American society. And so Cambodian refugees were placed in urban ghettos. They were placed all over the United States, not realizing that it's better to place them together in one community so that resources can be targeted and that they can rely on each other for assistance and moral support in order to integrate into their new society. That's what we do now. But before, the thinking was, let's put them in all 50 states so that no one city or county or local township would become economically burdened by all these refugees. And what happened in this case is that Cambodian refugees were placed into ghettos with poor schools. And because they had all this trauma from the killing fields and from the genocide and the Khmer Rouge, it just created collective kind of issues that are shared by Cambodians that cause Cambodian refugees to not fully integrate successfully into American society. And we're still dealing with many of those issues today in low high school graduation rates, low college admission rates, high gang activity, high high levels of Cambodians living on welfare and living below below many Americans and other Asian Americans. All right.